Joining us now for reaction, one of the 4 GOP senators who has opposed the revised health care bill, Utah Senator Mike Lee. Senator, take me back to the timing of all this, because it's my understanding President Trump was meeting with some of your fellow Republican senators in the White House, having a dinner, trying to push forward with support for this Better Care Reconciliation Act. And all of a sudden, you and your fellow Republican Jerry Moran come out with your opposition that essentially blew up the chances for passage of the bill in the Senate. Why do it then? Why announce your opposition?
I've been studying this bill, which was first released to us on Thursday over the weekend. What I concluded over the weekend is that this bill doesn't do enough to comply with the promise Republicans have been making for the last 7 years. We've got every Republican who's campaigned for any federal office, House of Representatives, U.S. Senate, or the presidency, who has campaigned on the promise of repealing Obamacare. Obamacare has made health care unaffordable and inaccessible. We've got to undo it. It's what we promised for 7 years. Now we have to do it. This bill didn't do that.
Okay, so the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, has said he will call for a vote that simply repeals Obamacare, like the one that passed the Senate in 2015. Would you vote for it?
I will vote for any bill to repeal Obamacare. What we do matters, and this is what I have been calling for months, is that I would love to be able to repeal Obamacare. We bring up a bill that does that, and only that. Let's see if we can get that passed. I think it's an important step forward, and then we could decide what comes next after that's passed.
But 2 of your fellow Republicans, Susan Collins and Shelley Moore Capito, have already said they are not on board with a repeal-only bill. Rob Portman, senator from Ohio, has indicated he is not on board. If you lose those 3, you don't go forward with that legislation.
Yeah, look, I don't know where any of my colleagues will go. What I'm telling you is that if I'm given an opportunity to repeal Obamacare, I will do it. And it would surprise me if we were not able to do that. That would be a sad reflection on our party, given that it's what we have campaigned on for the last 7 years, and it's what we ought to do first.
The president has said that Republicans should repeal failing Obamacare now. This was his tweet this morning. Work on a new health care plan that will start from a clean slate. He says Democrats will join in. Are you confident that they would?
That ultimately will be up to them. I don't speak for them. I certainly would hope that they would. I've been disappointed to this point. They've chosen not to participate in this process. Those who have spoken out on it have, as I understand it, said, we don't want to be part of anything that repeals any part of Obamacare. Okay, well, if that's the case, let's move that obstacle out of the way by repealing it and inviting them to join in the discussion as to what comes next.
You know, voters gave you and your fellow Republicans control of the body in which you serve, the Senate, the House, as well as the White House, largely on promises that the Republicans made, that you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. It looks like that is not going to happen, at least not in the near term. So when you go home to Utah, what do you say to the vote?
Well, what I say is that is exactly where I want to go. I want us to repeal Obamacare. It's what we've been saying for 7 years. It's what the American people demand. People have seen health insurance in many cases become the single most expensive payment they make every single month. And in many cases, people have health insurance that they're no longer able to use. They can't afford to use it because of the high deductibles. This is an urgent problem, and it demands urgent action. That urgent action necessarily involves full repeal.
But the votes don't appear to be there for full repeal. It just leaves the existing system in place. So where is that doing anybody any good?
Yeah, I simply refuse to accept the suggestion that the votes wouldn't be there. We wouldn't have a 52-seat majority in the Senate. We wouldn't have a majority in the House. We wouldn't have a Republican in the White House right now. But for campaign promises made over and over and over again by essentially every Republican, saying we will repeal it. It's time for us to do that.
Does the president need to get more involved, do more arm twisting in your view?
Look, I would always welcome the president's involvement in this. I think it's always helpful. And if he wants to continue to be involved, I think that'll be a great thing.
Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah. Senator, good to have you on. Thanks. Come back.
Thank you.